The first time I looked at a BC contract of purchase and sale, I felt like I was reading a legal document written in a foreign language. Because honestly, there was a lot of big words and confusing information. And here's the frustrating part. Not all realtors will walk you through it to make sure you understand it. You're handed an 8-page contract and you're expected to sign it. If you ask too many questions, you feel like you're holding up the deal. But not to worry, today I'm breaking down exactly what's in the contract section by section so that when your offer goes in, you know precisely what you're signing. This document is subject to change, so be sure to ask your realtor about recent updates. Now, before we dive in, feel free to download my free checklist for your first investment property at jencorrigan.com under the Resources tab. It walks you through every step from financial readiness to closing day, written specifically for Canadian women investors. Now let's jump in. First off, this is not legal advice. Always speak with your realtor and lawyer about your specific situation. What I want to do today is simply walk you through this document so you can be informed and more confident. The BC Residential Contract of Purchase and Sale is developed by the BC Real Estate Association and the Canadian Bar Association. It's the legally binding agreement between a buyer and a seller. Once both parties sign it, that's it. You're in a contract, so let's make sure you understand it before that moment. First, let's talk about purchase price and the rescission right. Section 1 is your purchase price. But here's something many first-time buyers don't know about. BC has a home buyer rescission period. That means after your offer is accepted, you have 3 business days to change your mind. The catch? If you back out, you pay 0.25% of the purchase price to the seller. On a $700,000 property, that's $1,750. This right exists to protect you, but use it wisely, not as a substitute for doing your due diligence up front. Next, let's talk about the deposit. Section 2 says that your deposit is due within 24 hours of acceptance unless you've negotiated otherwise. This money is held in trust by the brokerage. It is not handed to the seller. Important, if conditions aren't met, getting that deposit back requires written agreement from both parties. That's why your conditions need to be ironclad and clearly written. Next up, the conditions, aka your protection clauses. Section 3 is where you write in your subject conditions, like subject to financing, home inspection, reviewing strata documents, etc. Each condition has a deadline. If you don't waive or fulfill it in writing by that date, the contract dies and you get your deposit back, provided a general release document is signed by both parties. Now let's pivot to completion and possession dates. Completion in Section 4 is when money and title legally transfer. That happens at the land title office, and your lawyer or notary manages it. Possession date in Section 5 is when you actually get the keys. These are often a day or so apart, but not always, especially when there are tenants involved. If you're buying a property with existing tenants, the Residential Tenancy Act governs what happens next, and that's a whole other video that I'll be making soon. Section 6 talks about who pays what amount of property tax. This depends on when the sale takes place in the year because property tax is due in July each year. Next, Section 7 lists everything included in the purchase price, including appliances, window coverings, fixtures, etc. Here's my tip. If it's not written in, assume it's not included. I've heard of sellers taking light fixtures, doorbells, TV brackets, or even the high-end appliances, replacing them with poorer quality ones. Get specific, list the name brands of the items, and take pictures during the initial viewing. If you want the washer, dryer, and that custom shelving unit, name them. Section 8 lists the date of said viewing, and you can refer back to your pictures from that date if anything is out of place during your walkthrough on possession day. Next up, Section 9 means you're getting clear title, free of financial charges and encumbrances, with a few standard exceptions like utility easements or rights of way. Your lawyer will do a title search to confirm all of this before completion. Sections 10 to 12 are about each party giving each other the money and documents they need to complete this transaction, and it mentions that time is of the essence, so you have to move quick. Now on to financing and costs. Section 13 states that the buyer is responsible for paying the seller all money owed, including getting a mortgage if necessary. Section 14 says the seller needs to pay off any money they still owe on their mortgage to give the buyer a clear title. Section 15 breaks down what each party pays. As the buyer, you're covering property transfer tax, land title registration fees, and mortgage-related costs. Sections 16 and 17 are about risk and who's bound by this contract, and until what time on what day in case something happens during the timelines in the contract, like a fire between contract acceptance and possession day, for example. Section 18 is the guarantee of the contract and the property disclosure statement, in case there are undisclosed issues with the property found later. And sections 19 and 20 confirm that both parties consent to the collection and disclosure of all their info relevant to the sale, and that the commissions from both sides can go directly to the agent's brokerages out of the sale proceeds. Section 20A states that assignment of the contract is not allowed without the seller's consent, i.e., this will be handled by the lawyers and brokerages directly. The buyer can't wholesale it without the seller's approval, and if they do, the seller gets the profit. Note, if you're interested in wholesaling a property, you have to cross this one out and get the seller's initials. It's rare that they'll agree to this, but anything's possible. Section 21 is agency disclosure by both realtors involved in the transaction. Next, Section 22 states that once this contract is signed, it's non-revocable, meaning no takebacks. Section 23 talks again about the buyer's right to rescission, but if they do, they have to pay the seller. Section 24 and 25 make sure the buyer and seller know this is a legal document, and any changes or counteroffers restart the clock and need to be agreed upon again on this same document. And last but not least, sections 26 and 27 are the offer and acceptance with dates, times, and signatures required by all. So now you know, you're not behind, you're not too late, you're just getting started, and now you're doing it informed. If this was helpful, please consider subscribing for more real estate investing tips. And don't forget to download my free investment property checklist at jencorrigan.com under the resources tab. If you have questions, please put them in the comments below. Happy investing, and I'll see you in the next video.